You are.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we'll start off with a roll call. McKee here. Schultz.
Here.
Bottoма.
Present.
Camp.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
All right, we'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda approval. Anything from staff?
Mayor, we do have a couple items on the dais for council that are just additional materials. We have a revised city administrator profile as well as a potential offer letter for one of the police officers that we have recently interviewed. So those would be our two items. The city administrator recruitment is 9B, and then we do have the police department staffing under 10D would be that offer letter.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything from council? All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those modifications laid out by Jessica.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, commission representatives, we have Dean Jacobs here from the Planning Commission and potentially, well, probably not Val if we're not online.
Val, we are now back online.
Oh, we are
So
online.
we are-
Perfect.
We are back online.
Sounds good. And so Val from Parks and Trails.
Val from Parks and Trails is joining us, yes.
Great.
Hi, Val.
Hopefully they can hear us.
Yep.
We'll go on to open forum.
Perfect. Anyone joining us in the audience can, if you have a comment card, you can bring that up to staff. Otherwise, anyone joining us virtually can press star 9 on their phone, or they can click on reactions tab and then raise your hand, and we'll be able to do that. It does look like Zoom is cutting in and out, so we'll continue to work on
Sounds
that, and we'll try to post something on the website as we're here
Perfect.
through the meeting as well.
Sounds good. All right, then if there's nothing, we'll go on to consent agenda, which is, consists of items 7A through 7G. Does anyone want to pull anything?
I would like to pull item C, please.
Okay. Anything else? Nope. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 7A, B, and then D through G.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 7C, which is the resolution accepting the donation from the Hanover Athletic Association. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Hanover Athletic Association. If anybody is watching now or will watch in the future, our parks program is very important to us as a council, and I think it's one of the things we really want to invest heavily in the future to help ensure that we have a vibrant, fun community that people can belong to and have nice amenities to enjoy. And the planning process that we're going through to set that up is quite expensive, but also very valuable in ensuring that we have a good set of amenities and it's the right things for the city. So I appreciate the very generous contribution that they made and just wanted to call that out specifically in the meeting here.
Yeah, well said. I'd like to second everything you said there. And just for the record, for people that are watching, hopefully if they're able to or watching later, that was a very generous donation, $5,000 for Parks and Recreation equipment and $45,000 for city park master planning. So thank you so much. That is a very generous donation, and we'll make sure it goes to good use. All right.
I think we all second, third, and fourth that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and if it spurs other organizations that may be on the fence to donating,
We'll be happy to accept, right?
happy to accept.
Exactly.
Graciously.
And use it well.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve agenda item 7C.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along. No planning business. Unfinished business, we do have a public comment opportunity for items 9A and 9B, which is the goal-setting session and city administrator recruitment and position profile.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have not received any comment cards in person here, and anyone joining us online, we have that back up now, can press star 9 if you'd like to comment, or click reactions and raise your hand. Mayor, at this time, no one is raising their hand.
Okay. Let's go right into 9A.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In front of you tonight, we have a proposal for goal setting. We discussed at one of our meetings in December having Bill Kern do our goal setting as we have had in the past. And so I did a poll of council. We had one date that we were able to confirm. We're looking at calling a goal setting session on January 19th. And if another is needed, we go ahead and call that sometime in February, a date to be determined because we don't have a firm date set with council, but really looking to get some feedback on setting that date and then to see if there were strong feelings on food, video recording, and attendance. Really the main areas we'll be looking and getting
Gotcha.
feedback.
Sounds good. I think just to kind of start us off, food and the kind of the format we did last year, that seemed to work pretty well with what we had, and I think we recorded it, had it available, as necessary. And then in terms of attendees, Jessica, you and I briefly spoke the other day about maybe having a joint work session with planning and parks and trails, maybe in February, we're thinking?
Yes.
So separate from this?
Separate from
Yeah.
this, we thought once we finalize that goal setting and what our goals are, maybe bringing that to the commissions to kind of outline our thoughts for the coming year and get any feedback that they might have
Yeah.
as we move forward.
Sounds good. Dean, think that'd work for you guys?
Yeah, so to understand then, so on the 19th, it is an open meeting.
It is
Yes,
an open
yep.
meeting, it's a public meeting. Generally, it's going to be in a work session format, so we wouldn't necessarily have public comment, but it's something that anyone, I'd be open to the public and anyone could participate in, and we would audio record. That is one of the things that what we've done in the past to ensure that people have access to the meeting. It's a creative space, so we haven't always videotaped it, but always audio recorded and done minutes for those goal setting sessions.
I mean, I'll probably attend on the 19th. But
Perfect.
I think another, work session with the commissions would be awesome.
Great. That sounds good.
Beneficial to everybody, I think.
Agreed.
Were you good to say something, John?
Yeah, I was going to ask, Mr. Mayor, can I
Yeah.
ask you a question?
Go right ahead.
Are there any commission meetings between here and there? Like, does the parks or,
No.
Between
Parks is
now
the
and the
day after
19th.
the 19th.
Parks
Yeah.
is the day after on the 20th, and then our next planning commission meeting is February 3rd.
so typically this meeting's like 8 hours, and it sounds like we can only find one 4-hour session.
So,
And-
yes.
So I don't want to leave, we may end up having just one 4-hour session, because we haven't been able to align schedules. And so I would invite I guess not formally from the commissions, but informally from the commission participants
Sure.
to submit goals or things we should consider in our own goal-setting
Yeah.
agenda.
That'd be great.
We can send out once we've set, we get direction tonight on setting that date as the 19th, we can certainly send that out as something that we're looking for and request any feedback be sent to staff by Wednesday.
And I also would comment that, being we can't find a second 4-hour session, that we assume this is the only session. Like, I wouldn't want to leave here with a to be continued, that we never continue.
Sure. And
That's just those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Good points.
I was just going to say, we could look at scheduling it for a longer time, and that evening go 4:30 to, 9:30 or 10, if that would be something that's amenable to the council. It'd be certainly up to you as your meeting.
Well, that would be
See what you'd
one of
like
my
to see.
questions, is it a hard stop at 8:30? Is there a reason for that was in here?
I think we had just in the past done 2 4-hour sessions, so was the initial thought on the timeline. But if one date is kind of what we're looking at, I think we can make it longer, and we can really work on the format if there are things that you'd like to see from past years, bringing forward what we've had for goals. If we want to not discuss certain things like,
Yeah, personally, I think we can do a lot more to make it more efficient and more useful time. I see no reason to go through our mission, vision,
Yeah.
and values and statements again. I mean, it would be the fourth year that I would have went through it, and I don't see any more value out of it. You guys went through it last
Yeah,
year.
I
You've
agree.
gone through it how many zillion times?
7, 8, 9.
And unless you have something you really
I'm-
feel strong about, I would say
I'm
let's
good with
just
the way it is.
skip over that unless somebody's got something they really feel strong about.
That works for me.
And I think if we can get enough pre-work done beforehand, sending out maybe what was discussed last year, even the couple of years prior to that, so the people that were new on the council last year can see what was done in prior years, I think that would be helpful, so that we all come in prepared and focused. I don't see why we can't get it done in one night.
I like those suggestions. I would add, one of the things that I liked last time was the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats discussion at the beginning. Maybe we could come into it with something pre-populated from each person, to your point, to kind of streamline the discussion, so we each have a few things in mind for each of those areas.
Yeah, and I'm sure the facilitator will get those questions to us in advance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll work with Phil on getting some pre-work out to you guys as soon as he can. And
Perfect.
then I'll send over copies of the last couple years, all of our action steps and things that we've put together for it.
Sounds good. In terms of how long we want to go that day, do we want to push that out to 9:30 or 10:30?
I could accommodate that.
I'm fine with leaving it open-ended. I mean,
Or just
Sure.
4:30
We could
till
just
we're
start
done?
at 4:30 and just call it for 4:30 and not have an
It'll-
end time is
Yeah,
just fine as well.
perfect.
We can legally not have an end time, or is,
We
think
generally
so.
don't have
We
an
don't
end
for
time
meetings.
for
I know,
our
it's-
meetings. I think in the past, we just wanted to set some sort of expectation for the council as well as for those in the public. But I think if we know that it's really our one meeting that we're able to get to.
Mhm.
And maybe a structured end time would keep it more focused too, and keep
So
the
like-
discussion flowing.
Sure.
like a formal agenda or whatever? Once we're done with the last thing, we're done?
Yeah, or just saying, we have a hard stop at 10:30, so we have to plan our conversations accordingly.
No filibustering?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could always, I can't imagine we'd be going later than 10:30 anyways. We could put 10:30 in there, and if we're somehow done early, we're done early. If not, we
Yeah.
aim for that 10:30 time. Let's do
Perfect.
that. Perfect.
It just, if it went longer than 6 hours, it would seem like a planning commission meeting.
He's ignoring us again.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Was there anything else on there? Food, we're good with, I don't even remember what we did last year, but it was good.
Well, last year, I think we used Oak Eatery, and we can
Oh.
reach out to them to see if
That's right.
we can make that happen again.
Perfect. Anything else on that? I don't think so. Did you, let's see here.
Did they get clarity on video? We're gonna go
I
with
think we've talked about video, if you have specific.
I
if
don't
you-
foresee the need to have it videotaped, to be honest.
I agree. I think we have the audio, we have what's obviously required, and all that, but I don't know if we need to tape it like a normal meeting. Unless anyone else feels different. Cool. Okay. Did you need a motion or anything, or
If
just?
we could get a motion to authorize or to schedule the meeting.
Okay.
That would be great, and then I've heard your feedback on the other items.
I will make the motion to schedule the initial goal-setting work session for 4:30 to 10:30, January 19th, 2022, as well as with the direction on those items as discussed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 9B, which is city administrator recruitment and position profile.
Thank you, Mayor. I have Mark Casey here with David Drown and Associates, and I'm going to pull up our administrator profile and let Mark go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the opportunity to present the position profile for the search for your next city administrator. You received one earlier, and then we had comments that Councilman Nichols, and that's what you should have right now on your desk. I had some comments from Councilman Schultz, just kind of incorporated as part of what you're working our way through. If Councilman Schultz, if I'm not saying it correctly or whatever, please correct me if I'm missing how what you and I discussed.
Sure.
Those areas. And by all means, the rest of the members of the council, please let me know as we work our way through this. This is what we want to do. We're still obviously in the draft form. Actually, we've got some more information this evening from staff, so I'll break that up as we work our way through. I thought maybe the most efficient way to do this was to actually go page by page, real quickly, and then make sure I can incorporate your comments so we can be able to keep moving forward.
Perfect.
All right, so right away, our first page is just the cover, and then we can come to that in the end, or we can deal with it right now. There's three options for a cover choice that we have.
One here.
The one that we currently have. It's easier to go, the other ones, like, if we do it, want to do it at the end, or?
Either way, I've got.
I think we can knock that decision out quick, yeah.
Yeah, so the other two are pictures of the M&I neighborhood from just different directions.
That was Ravinia right there, isn't it? No, sorry.
Oh.
that's
These are, I
That's
think,
M&I.
both M&I's Bass Lake crossings.
Is the can you go to the third one again?
Yep, that's M&I looking.
Yeah, you're
north.
right.
From the Lions
Yep.
Park.
Yeah. from-
There was one other picture in here that I thought was maybe of a different development. Maybe it wasn't
This
one of the
one's
cover.
Ravinia.
Okay, maybe it was one of the interior pictures. Then. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? I kind of like the one that's.
I do too.
Yeah, it's
Those are like, I would not want to work at a place like with that. as the cover.
Well, like one of them is the development's not even finished.
Right.
I think that kind of distracted me or took my attention. But I kind of thought the bottom one was simple, kind of
First read.
captures the right vibe.
Nothing wrong with the M&I neighborhoods.
Right.
But like, it sort of doesn't encapsulate.
Right, for
Can you-
the cover kind of first impression.
Could we do that M&I neighborhood one and crop in a couple of finished homes on those empty lots? That way we get Cook Lake in the background and all that. Could we, or is that false advertising?
I'm not sure that are we, do you all think that we should have new development on the cover for the posting? I kind of think an image that's
Yeah.
more
I like this
emblematic.
one too.
Yeah, I would prefer something that's
I
more.
kind of like this one,
picturesque.
and then inside, as it's maybe just, a specific discussion point, like, there is, within it, there can be those type of pictures.
Good
But
point.
I think for the cover, I like that first option. We're all on board with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Sounds good. If we can move to page 2. Received some comments from Councilmember Schultz in regards to in that first paragraph, when they're aiming to various cities, was including Maple Grove and Plymouth. So that's something that also would like to have that added in.
In the first paragraph, you said?
Correct.
Yeah, partway down where it talks about the cities were surrounded, it doesn't mention Maple Grove or Plymouth. even though
Gotcha.
We're bordered by those.
Yeah, it is factual.
That is true. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, that'll be added in there. The second paragraph, I believe, Councilmember Schultz pointed out the term agricultural development. Is that correct? I can't remember if you brought that up.
Yeah, I just said drop the word development. To me, when you're saying agricultural development, you're saying converting land to being more agricultural or building agricultural facilities.
Right.
Okay, let's back to word development. Is there any other comments on page 2?
I am wondering about,
This is
oh,
page
I'm on
two.
page 3. Never mind.
Well, that's where we're going next.
All right, now to page 3.
You're up.
The middle paragraph under recreation and community events, that was some older information we pulled from the website, so we actually are revising that and getting, the middle paragraph here will be updated with information, and I received some information today from the recreation supervisor to be able to incorporate a little bit of what's going on with the parks and the trail system.
So reference the community center would be pulled out?
That'd be great.
Okay,
Okay.
that was mine.
I have, I think we have like 10 horseback 10 places you could get horseback riding lessons in Corcoran, or at least there, how many? I don't know where Brandywine Farm is, but there's a lot of different, I don't want to single out Brandywine Farm. There are tons of different places where if you're something about animal lovers, it's as if we're focusing on one entity. There are lots of different places with horse riding opportunities, but also like there are
Right.
tons of, like if you're, it's as if we actually don't have that many.
Right, we're pointing out the one that.
Yeah.
So maybe trying to make that more general about, places that, for animal lovers or nature lovers to,
There is one farm, I forget the name, but they offer goat yoga, so we could cite that if we want to be a little bit out there.
there you go.
You can come to my place and kiss a pig if you want. I'm not talking me.
You should probably remove reference to the names of the golf courses too, since they're,
I was gonna say that, but
Yeah.
then how close are we to Baker Park? I mean, we've got so much close. Are we focusing on just what's in our community or outside? And most of Rush Creek Golf Course is
I think Rush
outside
Creek-
of our community.
Well, they technically are in the community, so,
The course at least,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, I would just,
3 or 4 holes.
to me, your point though, singling out or making reference to an economic entity,
I don't even know if we need to have the 3 golf clubs. I think that we could spend a lot of time on this, because if there's a thing that I like about our town, it's the recreational and community events. So,
Yeah,
we've got, if I was trying to convince somebody to move to Corcoran, and although we're not trying to convince them to move to Corcoran, we're trying to get them to take a job in Corcoran, but, especially, we have a lot of stuff that people can do. And we're missing like snowmobiles.
we're missing snowmobile.
We're missing,
Country Days?
the park.
Country Day is the one I
Isn't
have,
the, like, Central Park isn't,
That'll be an application, part of the amenities that you do have.
oh, yeah.
we're missing Trail Dusters Arena as well. That's another.
Yeah, I mean, there's, that to me is sort of like, I think that could be more robust and colorful.
Maybe does anyone who has a couple specific things that come to mind want to shoot an email off in the next, when would you need it by to make some of these changes?
I'll probably do it over the weekend, and the idea would be to post on Monday.
Okay.
So that could be.
Did you talk to Jessica,
This one?
Yes.
JCB?
Yep,
And
yep,
get
so
her put on this, and Brad too. Well, Jessica, since she works here still.
Yes.
But-
Jessica actually sent Mark some updated language
Oh, okay.
today. So specifically on that second paragraph there, she talked a bit about the Diamond Lake Trail, I believe, as
Oh,
well
yeah.
as the park. So she tried to touch on those different things within the.
Well, we should also talk about the Three Rivers Trail along 19 and the
Yeah.
trailhead that we have there as well.
Yep.
So
Yes.
would it not be, she kind of referenced more of the public stuff that the city owns, so.
Yeah.
Some of the things we're talking about right now with snowmobile and some of the areas was not talked about,
Gotcha.
so. If there's if somebody could research that, I'd be happy to put it in whatever
Yeah.
research they have, so I guess we need to help identify that.
Would it be attractive to include portions of the Central Park Master Plan? It doesn't exist today. I mean, the plan exists, but the facility doesn't. But if we're talking about the vision for the city and the things that we're excited to see develop, that might be another element you could include.
Well, they talk about it, don't they talk about it in the goals area? Parks and trails, they just talk about parks and trails.
So that might be maybe an image to go with the text then. I don't know.
So you used our input to put this together, so I apologize for not being, I mean, you're just reflecting to us what we already talked to you about, so if there's something missing, it's more on us than you, so.
We try to, I mean, we try to incorporate as much as we can, and also we'll pull from the website.
Yeah,
right.
Staff has been great at getting this information, but that would, the hardest part for, I guess, for us, I'm familiar with Corcoran, but I don't know the intimacies.
Right.
Intimacies, well, how you do,
Mhm.
you know, and what's updated and what's current and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and we probably don't have to name every single thing we can think of either, too, just, I mean, this would run on for a long ways.
True. Dean, did you have something?
Yeah, sorry, this is my first look at this. I was just curious, you know, when you look at it though, the educational opportunities and whatnot, recreation, community events, I don't really see anything in here where it talks about our current lifestyle here. So, you know, when we talk about the horses just now, you know, but, I mean, Corcoran is almost predominantly a hobby farm community. Or not, I mean, isn't that maybe a lifestyle that maybe should be highlighted that I don't see here? And the only other thing would be just in the community events, in the middle paragraph, it says, and its large community room holds many events. Am I mistaken, or did I?
Oh, that one's
Yeah, we
getting
previously
fixed.
discussed that.
In the offices, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true anymore, is it?
No, that's on the
That's
list
been
to
removed.
update.
Okay. All right, that's all.
Thanks. So yeah, I guess where are we landing on, we do have a bunch that we've kind of started to list off, but to Alan's point too, we could also kind of make 10 pages out of that if we wanted to, which is probably not the best for a,
I think a person that's, I mean, this is due next week, so like,
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with, I mean, I'd be fine with how it is. We're just tweaking it a little bit, so.
right.
I
Gotcha.
think that's a great point that somebody brought up. I mean, the purpose of this document is not necessarily a chamber of commerce type of. but
Right.
Kind of, which, all this stuff is good information, but try to attract the best candidate for, and then they're gonna do their due diligence, do their own searches.
Gotcha. So let's generally go with the little bit of feedback we got, and if anything comes up to mind that you think would be a good idea, we'll leave it to you in terms of what you think is worth putting in or not, but if you have a specific thing you think is worth mentioning, shoot them an email with it.
I think the snowmobiling is a good point to raise, because we do have trails in a lot of our communities now.
Yeah, I think that's.
And I think Country Days might be a good thing to highlight.
Yeah.
Along with the rodeo.
Sorry, is that?
I think Country Days, that concert festival, would be another thing to highlight along with the,
Are we still home to the Hennepin County Fair?
Yes?
We are currently, they did host an event here last year, I believe, correct, Matt?
I'm not sure if they're with COVID, if.
Oh, they might not have with
There-
COVID. but-
there was.
They had an event,
Had
but
a
no rides
small-
or anything.
small
It was a
event.
very small.
So maybe it's worth putting that in there, though, at least that's,
yeah.
Or how long, do you know, does anyone know offhand when that first started being here? It's been a while.
It's been here for a
Since-
long
Seven-
time.
Since
72.
the,
You just making that up, or is that?
No,
It's been here for a long time.
he was there opening day.
I was 12 years old living in Southern, no, I'm not gonna go there, but, no, I think it's been there almost the inception of
Okay.
the Lions Park.
Cool. Well, maybe if we can,
we can probably.
Get that, say, you know,
Find out.
Information.
whatever you,
Hold on, Hennepin County Fair, is that what?
yeah.
Till we secede.
Glancing over and all of that stuff, I think somewhere it says we're one of the safest communities. I'd really like to highlight firearm safety someplace as being one of those attributes underneath that safe side. I'm not,
You know what page you're on, Dean?
I'm trying to remember.
Oh, gotcha.
Glanced over it so quick just a few minutes ago, but
Is it okay if we just go page by page? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do, we'll get to it when
Yeah.
it comes up.
So we'll go to page 4.
We hijack people's presentations all the time.
we, somebody else squirrel and we're off the track really fast. There it is, down there.
Go right ahead.
Keep going.
Page 4, just
Sorry.
There's some additional text we put in there. Councilmember Nichols suggested. Otherwise, that's pretty well set, I believe. Page 5, there was no comments, unless I heard anything from anybody else.
On the page 5,
Okay.
that's, if it's possible to highlight the firearm safety and those kind of things. I'm not, I don't know, Matt, is it something we want to talk about? Hunting out here, is it something we want to talk about firearm safety as one of those things related to?
Well, I mean, we engage in a lot of community education, so maybe highlighting that, just that we interact with the community. I mean, we have, you know, our firearm safety, we get about 50 people, but for our truck safety, we get over 200.
Yeah, I did.
In our night to unite, so I think maybe just, you know, I don't know if we want to just focus on one or just talk about, you know,
That's the direction I was going,
On
was
the
all of
organization,
the
really.
things that the police.
maybe just mentioning the ways that we interact might be valuable, instead of just the one. Also, because the firearms, you know, the ordinance is in flux at the moment, being looked at, how that plays out, and just seeing what that final product looks like is yet to be determined. So I think it's safe to say that, you know, snowmobiling and firearms are all part of our community and culture out here, but how you guys want to highlight it, I suppose, whether that's as part of the organization or part of the community, is however you guys feel that should be presented.
I think they'll get the drift after a few conversations with us, too.
True.
Yeah, I'm proud of what we do to keep all of those involved things going on and the safety side of it, but is that something, I mean, we could turn this into 30-page
Right.
dissertation, and I might be going overboard, so.
I think that for sure in this process, we want to highlight the fact that a huge chunk of our land is rural. And so I think that whether this document reflects it or not, but the hiring process should reflect it. And I think it'll put, all the things that the five of us think about will be reflected ultimately in who we get. So I don't know if we can fill it all up, but I agree with the sentiment. And it'll come up in the discussion.
Yeah, I just, we've got a lot to be proud of. I mean, we had a lot of people been here a long, long time, and a lot of support from citizens helping all of these places. I don't know how you can, I'm not a very good wordsmith when it comes to that.
I think if someone
I'm
rolls
proud.
up from the Kenwood neighborhood, they'll figure out pretty fast that this probably isn't the job for them.
And the welcome to Corcoran talks about the rural aspect of it.
Yeah,
True.
that's true.
On page 6, we just got some stuff, just want to scroll down.
Yep.
Organizational chart. Suggested under the administration to add the accounting position. So we'll do that. And then under the public works, we'll eliminate the engineer in the title. Get rid of that, and then we will add maintenance workers with the parentheses of 5. And then under the public safety, we'll add another box for police with the parentheses with the number 6 in there.
Gotcha.
Mr.
Councilor
Mayor?
Nichols?
Should we include the approved positions under Public Works for the
That's
superintendent?
what I was
That's what I
wondering.
was thinking too.
We could put the superintendents in there as well. Yep.
Perfect. But it's 2 other positions under Public Works,
Okay, so
2, right?
parentheses 2, right?
We can get you the specific
We'll
titles.
give you the specific titles. I can send those over.
Give that to me. Okay. on to scroll down, then will be the core duties of the position. This is basically from your job description. So I took the liberty of the next part of this agenda item about adopting the slight revisions that I think was suggested by the former administrator. Very small in scope, but I think we just changed the word with the commissions. In here, I think I spell that out or something differently, I believe. I think it's planning or something like that, and then I think I would just incorporate all commissions.
Can I step back 1 second to the previous page? Under the budget information, where you give that information, do we want to talk about our debt load and how, some of those numbers that Tammy highlights and how good we're doing?
Sure, we could
Just some
look
of those
at,
percentages, something that would stand out to somebody in the profession that are wondering if, are we leveraged to the hilt or are we doing a decent job to get an idea?
Like the reserve ratio and bond ratings
Right.
historically.
Or is that something that could be?
or bond rating.
Trying to think how much information we want to put. Is that something that could be a separate document given to
Does it help
applicants?
broaden the
Or wanting
appeal
to
of the
try to
role?
make sure we're drawing applicants
I don't
in
know.
with that fact alone.
Yeah, it's not, by looking at this, it doesn't tell them a whole lot other
Right.
than what the budget amount is, and they might go, look at, well, this is a really small,
Right. That's
they're growing, but they're small,
Right.
and
Sure.
Do you do a CAFR here?
We don't do a CAFR, but we do
Awesome.
have our audited financial statements on the website. So we do have that information available, which would have some of that data, as well as the financial management plan is available on the website as well. So.
Simplify it, just bond
Items.
rating and
yeah, I don't want a
Over
whole lot
time.
in there.
Sure.
Just,
I did just a couple of more bullets.
Right.
What I shouldn't say bullet points, excuse me. Just our bond rating and
it's just something that it gets somebody in the industry's their attention and go, these guys are doing pretty good. It may be something I
Yeah.
want to be with, or other than, are they in the dumps and I don't want to walk into a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say a bond rating is a nice opportunity to remove it.
Isn't part of your job the recruitment, right, also? So what do people tell you? What do they look for as far as the financials of a town when they're applying for a job? It must mean something, and we kind of think this doesn't mean as much, but you tell us from your experience what people are looking for when it comes to finances.
Right, I think an $8 million budget, does not seem small, especially for community size. And the bond ratings are nice, but bond ratings also, are kind of size of your community and some factors that you can only go so high anyway with the bond ratings. I would say a majority of the candidates, that's why we kind of talk about that month of advertising, gives us that ability for them to go and do their due diligence and, I'm sorry, my time. Okay, and so, I think that'll be part of the good ones will do their due diligence, and they'll look on the website, and they'll look at your audit and things like that.
Okay.
All right.
could we attach one more light item on this?
Absolutely.
2020. We don't have that information, do we? Population by year.
We certainly could get some information from the Met Council based on some of the projections.
I'm just saying, is there something
We
that
can't use their
shows
projections,
we're
they're
growing? That's what I mean, we only know our population, true population every 10 years.
Yes.
Never mind.
One thing that we could also look at, related to finances, is in the budget presentation that we've talked about, we've had that tax rate difference, so we could,
Yeah.
that might be an item that might be helpful to show how the tax rate has gone down. That might be something that we could highlight.
Or even include the actual census number, what is our population as of 2020?
The Met Council, I don't want to say they're bad, but historically, they've been very inaccurate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I would say that we could look at what 2020 was and do some calculation based on our number of building permits. our average homes. We wanted to, but,
The population itself will go out with the advertisement in the actual ad. That will be-
Oh, okay.
Not on the profile. but
All right.
by means, we can include it in the-
Already got it covered.
And we talk about the growth of it in the first section too.
Yeah.
Do we have the 2021 actuals at this point?
Say that again?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We're still working on it.
2020 actuals.
Okay.
We just started preliminary audit today.
Okay. Very good.
We move to the next page. Just touch on real briefly with this one addition to the mission on the second bullet. And then next page on the job description was just streamlining the top one by bringing in the public safety director, public works, director, planner, recreation supervisor, which I believe is expressed in the document. And at the very bottom, point out that there was a spacing issue that we need to correct here. So we'll
Bless you.
have the final. The following page in regards to attributes came from what I heard from you in our meeting. And then the final, second to last page would be the goals and priorities. And that was also what I heard from you, and Councilmember Schultz suggested under the residents. Down here, integrated into all residents versus new.
Good catch. Yeah, I like that.
I had one, when we met, I said, there's one thing that our meeting could be extremely short. And it's that, and this isn't gonna be in here, but it's, do not come with a political agenda of any kind. And I just want that to be, personally, for me, is the biggest issue for me in this candidacy, and it's not reflected in this document, but
He has a reference to it in here, maintain impartiality and be apolitical.
I'm just saying it aloud,
Okay.
just so, it's not in here, but like, the front page could, I'm so concerned about that the whole front page could be, don't come here with a political agenda, because if you have conferences with other elected officials, that is the number one concern with them, is the agenda of the city administrator. So, just FYI.
Yeah. I mean,
Nothing we need to change in here, but it's my perspective.
So to clarify a little bit there, so it sounds like you're hearing that feedback from other cities. That hasn't been a problem historically here?
I'll say, I don't know about necessarily prior to my time.
Okay.
So I'll qualify it and say, prior to my, but it has been in other cities.
Yeah.
And I'm not even, I'm speaking here or there, it's not a political position.
Right.
I think anybody that's a potential candidate is probably gonna watch this video and hear that statement, so.
I've
Good.
been told they watch a lot of prior council videos if they're one worth having.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think you
but-
told me that. Paid attention in our meeting.
I think it's a good thing to emphasize, whether it's here or, just for you to know and throughout the process. But yeah, I think that's an important point.
Yeah.
So I will incorporate this, the council staff will get the comments in here, and then we'll be the position posted on Monday. Just real briefly, the profile itself, we use that to obviously market the city, we use it for our advertisement, we use it for personal conversations that I'll have with folks that, that I'll be interacting with. It's an opportunity, obviously, to showcase the community. The attributes and the goals we mentioned did come from you, so hopefully it has your reflection of who you are as a council. Also, it's a tool that we can use for screening, when you work our way through pick candidates. If you work your way down, then one thing is also too is the salary range. Right now, we have a salary range that we see from the 114,233 to 139,360. A lot of times the candidates will look at the maximum number just to see where it's at, not to say that's where they're gonna start off with, but what they can aspire to. This is very small in sense, but I would recommend maybe go to 140 just for the sake of, sometimes you get that 99 versus 100 and 140 just kind of jumps out at you, but I mean, it's all ultimately up to you what you want to do as a council. But as it's out there, I think it just jumps out, and then also the way that stuff goes in advertising, they'll take the high salary, and that's where it is in the listing in regards to all the other jobs. So it would be just even with another 140 up there.
Gotcha.
So that's something I would recommend on the salary, but that's, once again, your prerogative on where you want to go with that.
Gotcha.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I guess I have a question there. I guess this is probably for you, Jessica.
Sure.
So I imagine the salary range is derived from the salary scale for the administrator position.
Yes, it is.
So in order to go to a higher number, we'd have to change the scale?
The way that our scale is set up for here, we have in the past gone outside the pay scale occasionally for city administrator positions, so it's certainly up to the will of council what they'd like to see. So it's certainly something we could do, but the information that I provided Mark for the position announcement did come directly from the pay scale that was presented as part of the 2022 budget.
Okay.
Since it's public information, what was Brad's salary at the end?
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
360.
Yes, it was a couple dollars short of there.
Yeah, so, just, may I comment on that?
Of course.
I thought Brad was good and earned his salary. My question maybe I suspect if Brad reapplied for his job, he would not ask for 139, 360. It's like in public when you say, here is what the salary is. You know darn well whoever we land on is gonna ask for more than that number. That's just how it goes. I would suspect, because now we've said we'll pay up to 139, 360. And in negotiation, that's like now seems like that would be their bottom point. So I'm comfortable posting it and seeing who we get. And if there's someone that's good and they ask for a certain number, then we discuss it as a group. But maybe I'm wrong in that, in the public sector. In the private sector, I wouldn't want to, if we said, let's just pretend we said 170,000 is our top. We'd probably get the same pool of candidates, but they'd all just request a higher dollar amount, I would suspect. But I don't know, I'm comfortable leaving it, and if we get
Okay.
just, how many times have we had somebody else apply for a job that's posted at a certain range, and then
Request something, huh?
something different, and then we will think about it. This isn't a union job where this is the number. I don't know, but
Right. I think I would agree. The only question I would have is, you mentioned like with the posting, and I'm trying to think exactly how that works. So would it be like filtered by that maybe?
Yeah.
When people are looking online and maybe
Where
we
it
get,
lines up, like a Google search or whatever, just where it lines up in the post. You got on page 4 and you see the posting.
I'm comfortable going to having 4 as that next number, but
Okay.
it's like a Jedi mind trick.
Right.
139,999 is way lower than 140,000.
it's the car for 29.
Yeah.
Let's round down, let's do 139K, and then we got $360 to play with.
I don't think $640
Huh?
is gonna have us default on any.
No, we're trying to
Yeah,
bring them
future.
in. We want that number
We're making jokes of it.
640 higher.
Yeah, let's round up to that 140 for the, at least for the sake of,
Do we have to change anything then related to our scale of
I think we could certainly look.
grades and stuff in what we got going on and?
If the council would like us to look at that, we certainly could. I think for that small of amount, like I said, we have gone outside the pay scale for the top position in the past, so we certainly could, we have some precedents with that, but I don't think that we're necessarily locked into that. We just, for pay equity, we want to just be mindful of where we are in comparison to our pay scale.
Right. But I think especially just for this task itself, we're not there yet. It's showing what the potential scale is.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm good with putting the 140. Sounds like everyone else is.
Yeah.
Mark, is this given this range, what caliber of candidate would you expect?
It's extremely competitive out there right now. I think you have less and less people going in to be in that administrator role, where we're finding more people are being that number 2, the administrator, like a service coordinator or a deputy or an assistant, where they have that buffer between that and the council. So I think we're finding that it is getting harder and harder in the sense that you have a tremendous lot going for you here. You also found somebody that was very successful, so that's very helpful. It's hard to fill these positions if we had somebody that was terminated, you know, and as we mentioned, people will be watching, seeing how that person was treated, and they'll see what the decorum was like, and if that's a place that they want to be. It's also, no doubt, your position where you are in the metropolitan area is phenomenal also, the location. There's a lot going for it. I hate to come and say this is how many number of applicants you're going to have, but I think it would be very competitive, but it's also extremely competitive out there right now to attract good folks.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure I can manage expectations too, but I have 33 people I'm going to call starting on Monday, whatever, that I'm going to be reaching out to. That's how I got my list so far. There'll be more. That's just who I have, but I'll be trying to get an assistant that says you want to be an administrator or things like that, so.
Okay, awesome. Perfect.
I'm kind of winding down here a little bit. I'm sorry it's taking so much time here, but I just want to touch on a couple small things here while I have everybody here.
Yeah.
So once again, the position will be posted on Monday. We'll have it run till February 14th. That gives the time to be able for us to be able to reach out to candidates. Also gives the time for the candidate to do their due diligence, and also to be able to talk to potentially a spouse if it's a relocation, and we'll be able to kind of work out some of those logistics. On Thursday, March 3rd, is when we will be selecting the finalists. That's who we want to bring in. And that'd be that semifinalists, we'll bring them to the finalists, and then as we get closer to the date, I'll be sending you a lot of information on that. And then on Friday, March 25th, will be who we'd like to bring in person. And that's a Friday. And all these dates I mentioned was important because that's what we'll put in the position advertisement. And then the candidates will start blocking off their times to make sure. So it's real critical that we're able to, hopefully it's far enough out in advance and people will be working March 25th. And that's the day they need to take off for work in order to be here. As we get closer to the interview day, we'll have a lot of discussions about that. There's a whole bunch of models that we can choose from on how we wish to do it. But traditionally, a lot of it's some combination of a tour, some combination of staff interview panel that would make recommendations, feedback to the council, ultimately a formal council interview panel. All put together draft questions and all these things. But once again, we have a lot of time between now and then, and I'll be giving you information well in advance of that. One of the questions is who do we post and where do we post out to? So we obviously, League of Minnesota Cities is one of the best sites that we have. That's what people are looking at. We also, the International City Managers Association, that provides the national, we get many applicants that actually do come in from out of Minnesota, from out of state. We also have an email listserv for both the city and county managers that include their assistants and then assistant city managers and assistant city administrators and other folks that are kind of in that level. So reach out to those folks. Also, we work out with the County Administrators Association, the Association of Minnesota Counties, Minnesota colleges and universities, and we do the League of Minnesota equivalents for Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin. We're also advertised with the International Network of Asian Public Administrators, the National Forum of Black Public Administrators, Glassdoor and LinkedIn. So those are just our traditional sites that we work our way through, along with through social media, and also we'll have all this information available for your website to share with anybody else that you'd like to, so it's on the City Corcoran site too. To kind of wrap it up here a little bit, part of my job will definitely be to leverage my connections that I've been able to establish in my 33 years of being in the public sector. I'm fortunate to be on the League of Minnesota Cities Board. I was on the Metro Cities past president on their board, Metro Area Managers Association, so I was able to establish hopefully some really good relationships with folks. And as I mentioned those 33 names, I just brainstormed a bunch of names that I just kind of wrote without doing too much work at that point in time. So I'll be working on that. And we find out a lot of the candidates is, obviously some are looking and they want to find other place. Some folks may not be looking now, but they love to be asked and they want to be wanted, like all of us in a sense. And it's also, it's a nice cover for those people working in other cities that say, you know, hey, I wasn't really looking, but I got a call, you know, so they can go back to their council and say, well, at least I'll take a look at it and see if it's something I'm really interested in. And typically through the process, I'll have multiple calls with candidates, so as they have questions, and the staff is able to help fill in some gaps that they're able to do. And also we have a very large database with a neighborhood drop too, that we work off too. So I went through that really quickly, but I feel like I've taken a lot of your time already, and I sure appreciate your input, appreciate your engagement in the process. It's a little bit of journey to work our way through, but I maybe mentioned to a few folks is that we have a lot of, it's a gauntlet that these candidates will work their way through, and the cream will rise to the top. And I think by the time we get to the end, we can trust the process, and there's so many enough pinch points through this that you're going to get a lot of perspectives on both their personality, their intellect, how well they can present, all those different things, and then also feedback that you have from the other stakeholders that you have with the staff. All that combination of information will come together, and then when you bring those people into that live interview, I think it'll become very apparent who will be the best fit for the department.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Great work.
Thank you.
Goodness, man. Good job.
Thank you. All right, we'll get a good profile out there, and we'll send you a copy when ready.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Very
it.
much.
Okay, then I will go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to approve the position profile with the first cover option that we discussed in the first one in the packet, as well as adopt resolution 2022-05 authorizing the posting of the city administrator position beginning January 17th, 2022 and closing February 14th, 2022.
I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Then I will go ahead and call the special council meeting for March 3rd, 2022 at 5:30 for the selection of city administrator candidates. And was it March 25th?
March 25th at noon.
At noon for the interviews of those candidates. Perfect.
What time on March 3rd?
5:30. Does that work?
We have a planning commission meeting, so we thought we'd do it in advance of
Gotcha.
of that meeting.
Sounds good. Okay, unfinished business, 10. We do have another public comment opportunity, and that is on 10A through H.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have not received any public comment cards from anyone in the audience, but anyone joining us virtually can press star 9 or click reactions and click raise your hand. At this time, Mayor, no one is raising their hand.
Okay,
How many people do we have online?
We currently have 5.
How many are?
Four, and 1 staff member and 1 commission liaison. So two members of the public joining us virtually.
Well, thank you to members of the public.
And Dean is here.
And Dean here, yes, in person.
I just have one question. So
Yeah.
in looking at the appointments, I was curious, the city assessment function was contracted out to a private individual.
Sure.
Dolph Erickson for many years, and now it's with Hennepin County. But I'm curious, is that not a contract, or does that not fall under this specific requirement?
Sure, that's a great question.
Go right ahead.
Oh, okay, with me answering. I would note that we had a term on the contract, so that's why we haven't generally put it in the annual appointments, because there was a different term on those assessment
Oh,
contracts.
All right, thanks.
We certainly could look at adding it in future years.
Sounds good. Either way works. Okay, we'll go into 10A then in Do you have a presentation on that, or do we just kind of want to hit the?
I didn't have a formal presentation for council tonight. Annual appointments is something that we do each year. We have a variety of different consultants that we appoint. And then we have the city newspaper, the attorney, our city planner, engineer. We have our auditors. We have our assistant weed inspectors. We did add, based on some feedback from Commissioner Gensner from the Watershed, the Watershed appointment, since we don't have a specific term. We thought it might make sense to add that to the annual appointments. And then we have our depositories as signatories. One item that we generally get feedback from the council on and have as a blank in the resolution is the acting mayor. Last year, Councilor Bodema served in that role, so we'll be looking for some feedback on that, and then feedback on anything else the council had. There were a couple changes in rates for a couple of the positions. The city planner, principal planner rate increased, as well as the city engineer rate increased. It's just, those are the special notes outside of the appointments.
Perfect.
I'd like to know.
Thank you. I guess first item, acting mayor, John, do you want to continue on in that role?
I mean, yeah, I would do it.
Okay. Does anyone else?
If anyone's, unless three people are against it.
Does that work for the rest of the council? That works for me.
I'm satisfied.
Good.
Perfect.
John did an adequate job last year.
Did great.
Yep. Let's see here. I think it was smart to add Ken on there officially. I know he'd been doing that capacity, but I think it makes sense to have him on there, and especially given his very good in that role. So that's perfect. Everything else looked pretty much the same. Did anyone have any questions or anything about any of the rate increases or just any of the firms that we'd be going with?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
The appointment of the auditor and auditing services, we're just appointing ABDO, right?
Yes, Abdo
Yep.
is our auditing firm. We have in the past used a few different firms to help us with audit prep. We like to have, depending on who has availability, we'd be looking at those. And then we do annually work with Gallagher Services to provide a very specific retirement for OPEB 45, I think it is.
75.
75.
GASB 75.
GASB 75. There's a specific report that we need to do related to retirement, and they provide those services for us. So it's just outlining those additional services that we've budgeted for, and just noting who would assist us with those.
So do we have a separate agreement with Gallagher? Are we paying them separately?
Yes, and that has been budgeted and is included as, I believe, item attachment 6.
So is there a way to separate out Gallagher from the resolution?
Yeah, I would think so.
Would you like to have them not listed on the resolution?
Well, I'll have to abstain if I'm voting on Gallagher.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Gotcha. So you don't necessarily have a problem with that, but you.
I don't have a problem with
so
it.
you can vote on the rest?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, can't we just amend the resolution to?
We could amend the resolution to not include that, but we could have a motion in the minutes authorizing us to move forward with Gallagher, and then you could abstain from that.
I need to
portion.
abstain from Gallagher and also the insurance agent and also the official depositories.
Okay, let me get
There's
all
an
that down.
insurance agent one too, I should look at that.
Yeah, I think we both have to abstain from the official depository too, don't we, Alan?
You said insurance agent as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do the insurance agent versus depository. I don't have an issue with the depository personally.
Okay. So,
It's an abstention due to perceived conflict of interest, but not actual conflict of interest.
Sure.
makes sense. Okay, then I will go ahead and make a motion to approve, give me 1 second here. Resolution 2022-01, establishing the annual appointments, with the amendments being the removal of the auditor assistants. Can we do just that, or do we have to do the
Yeah, we
entirety
could
of
do
six?
we could just remove all the auditor
Okay.
assistants.
Removal of auditor assistants, 9, the insurance agent, and 11, official depositories. Second.
I would second that.
Perfect. Any further discussion?
I don't dispute any of these. I think philosophically, it would be wise for us to, at some point, start some kind of a rotation where we put each of the major city expenses out for bid and solicit RFPs on a regular basis, just to ensure that we're getting the best service and value that we can. I don't think we necessarily have to start that this year, but as we're going into goal setting, I would encourage the council to think about having that be something that we try to do. Not everything all at once, and certainly wouldn't have to change necessarily, but at least trying to solicit proposals might be helpful.
We should at least have a documentation of when the last time these went out to
Sure.
RFP.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, anything else on that? Otherwise, I'll have the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, then separately, we're looking for, should we do all three of those
We-
together? We're gonna abstain on, I know you had 3, you had 2, or you
Yeah, I just
want to
had
break it up
2.
further, like into individual items?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't
If you
care.
just do the three,
You
we
just
both can abstain, it'd be
Right,
3-0.
yep, Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and make a motion to authorize, trying to think how to word this on the fly.
Sure, authorize us to engage audit assistance services.
Audit assistance services, the insured agent, and the official depositories.
So moved.
All right, you can make it.
Oh, sorry, second.
I'll make it. Counselor Nichols will second it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And
Abstain.
2 abstentions.
Two
nay.
abstains.
Yep.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
Good.
Actually, you're gonna look at it until all of a sudden
Okay.
some name pops out, you know.
That's a good catch. 10B, which is commission liaison schedule.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't have an official slide for this either, but we have annually look at our liaison appointments, and I want to see if we want to continue moving forward with individuals assigned to those liaison positions with the Planning Commission and Parks and Trails Commission, as well as the Watershed Commission, and then decide if we want to continue to have an individual liaison or do a schedule or some other format that council would like to see. So this is just an opportunity for us to make planning for the next year.
I think setting the specific liaison for each commission still makes sense. I like that, even though they're accessible online and many of us have gone to most of the meetings. I still like the idea of one person, just so you kind of know that there's someone there. In terms of who that is, I'm more than happy for me to continue on with Parks and Trails, or if someone else would like that, that's fine with me too. Jeremy, I don't know where you are on planning.
I would actually like the chance to learn more about the parks system. So
Okay.
I would be
You want
interested
parks?
in swapping, or maybe not direct swap, but I would be interested in doing Parks and Trails for next year if no one opposes.
That works. for
I
me.
would, I want to hold off on I want to comment on that if should no one oppose it. I think we should rotate.
Okay.
And I'm totally fine if everybody disagrees with me, but I think that I don't want to have I think it's too much power and authority in a singular person from a singular governing body to be the liaison to a commission.
Okay.
So like, I think it, the fact that I know Watershed stuff more than you guys, and maybe I don't, but I'm pretty sure I do, just because I was there, it almost makes me more influential to that body. And I don't think I like that I would be able to sway them in a
Gotcha.
more, I would take away some of their independence by
Okay.
being so ingrained with that governing body, that supposedly independent
Gotcha.
body. But I'm open to the suggestion, but I'm a little uncomfortable with having one person be the liaison, because it almost creates an undue influence situation.
Gotcha.
But,
So your rotation, if I can ask, would be every month it changes or rotate on a yearly basis?
I think
What
at
is your thoughts?
almost every meeting, it would,
Which would be monthly, typically.
yeah. And even if it's, even if it's to pop in or whatever, I don't think I would sit in a 6-hour planning commission meeting. And there are specific, so I wanna prevent some of these, and I would go. I haven't historically went. I've went as a citizen a couple times and I
Gotcha.
watch them. But, I sort of want a little bit more separation from, and you all should know what's going on in the watershed anyways. But those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I'm trying to think, like, specifically with the watershed one, is there value that would be lost in not having, because that one seemingly would have some of the more technical aspects to it, that the liaison might be more in tune with, whereas planning, there's certainly technical stuff in there, but not necessarily, like, I wouldn't say, you're, like, Jeremy's heavily interacting on the detailed planning stuff at each meeting.
I don't think you guys understand the gravity of the like, I don't think you understand the gravity of influence that the watershed has on the day-to-day stuff that, like, Kevin has to deal with, or Ken comes in here and talks about, like, this and this and this, and then that goes away from your mind. Not you specifically, but but unless you're in that meeting, you don't know, like, if you went to 2 meetings a year, you'd understand the gravity and the power that governing body has.
Gotcha.
And so I think it would be helpful if you sat in the meeting and saw that what was going on, like, even though you may not understand, like, some of the technical terms, and we're all pretty smart, we'd actually
Figure it out.
conceptually figure out what the heck they're talking about. But I really think it's important to rotate in there.
Gotcha.
That's just obviously it's just my opinion. I shouldn't say that's just my opinion. I think that we should do that.
So what's the role in the watershed commission liaison as compared to, like, planning commission? You're basically sitting there listening to the planning commission, right, and giving them updates on what the council is, and you kind of talk in generalities because you can't speak on behalf of the council. You're really speaking on yourself as a council member when they ask you specific questions. And then Parks and Trails, I would assume, would be the same. But what, as far as the watershed, because that's an outside entity, right? So,
Don't we have a carve-out for one of us council people to be in that meeting?
It's a public meeting, any
Yeah.
citizen can go to it.
So as a liaison, what do you do there?
I haven't went to one in a while.
Oh,
I talked to Ken and Kevin about what's going on there.
okay.
And it's sort of like, this is just, you opened up a real wormhole here, because I always feel like we have a Met Council person that's assigned to our district. And I don't know if you've ever had meetings with them, but like, we don't have a specific liaison to that entity either, but we should probably interact with them.
Hasn't that been our administrator doing the Met Council stuff?
On a formal documented basis,
Okay.
but,
And I have through some groups where Met Council also attends too. But, yeah.
or even the I-94 thing, you
Yep.
know, the chamber thing, like, so it's a matter of also to,
We could have all kinds of liaisons doing.
that's
a
what
whole
I'm
bunch
saying,
of
yeah,
different
like,
things.
what's,
Yeah. I think the original intent was just to get some more interaction between the council and commissions and get a present. So,
well, I've said my piece. I think we should rotate it, and I'm not like saying it, oh, I've said my piece, like, I'm mad. I'm just saying, I think we should rotate
no,
it.
I'm fine with even having rotations with Parks and Trails and Planning because, frankly, I think I've only gone to a few Parks and Trails meetings in the times I've been here. I went to the Planning Commission quite a bit because I was the liaison for a couple of years. But there's new people on both commissions that I don't know, They're a liaison for our city council meeting, but most times they don't talk or give any presentations, so we don't really get to know. So I can see a benefit to doing it. It's just a little bit more logistically challenging when we have to look at a calendar and figure out who's gonna go to it, but I have no problem rotating,
Kind of on the
trading days.
opposite side of that is, they're all publicly noticed and could all go to the next planning commission meeting or the next Parks and Trails or whatever, too. So just because you're the specific liaison doesn't mean that
Right.
someone else can't go to.
I did feel there was value in having a consistent person who's there to understand how the meeting runs and the strengths that the commission displays or doesn't display. And I would agree, it makes sense to allow anybody who's interested to go. I think it's nice to ensure that you've got at least one person who's consistently there, just for the sake of building that background knowledge, so that when there are vacancies or issues, you're better able to identify who might be a good fit for the need that organization has.
Maybe does it make sense to rotate Elm Creek Watershed and have our internal commissions be a set person, and like I said, still anyone could go to them? That way everyone's getting a understanding, like you were talking about, of the watershed, which I think is valuable for the rest of us to get a better kind of crash course on.
If you're a liaison officially at a Park and Trails Commission meeting, you cannot speak in a free-form sort of way, like if you're an official, I think, to the best of my knowledge.
I mean, I suppose if the chair recognized you, you could, kind of, like how we
Oh,
have
okay.
Dean here.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've already said my piece.
I mean,
As I already
it's-
said.
it's a good conversation.
I took the position when I was liaison to the planning commission that that's their meeting.
Right.
I just sit and listen and tell my point. I mean, if something is said that I felt wasn't correct, then I would ask to be recognized to.
Typically, it's that, or if there was a question they had of council on something, I can try to clarify. Other than that, there's usually something at the end of the agenda, like a council update, just kind of go over some bullet points.
Dean raises his hand.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Just as an observation, so either way, it's always good to have, from a commissioner standpoint, you guys be in there is always great. But I've noticed that Counselor Nichols, though, you take a different perspective than what he does, where you're passive. I think Commissioner or Counselor Nichols is a little bit more proactive, and I know at our last meeting, spoke up and interjected. We certainly gave them all due course of recognition and helped clarify, you know, some of the discussions that we were having. So as a planning commission member, I would welcome, you know, someone who is there and wants to be active, at least in injecting themselves in the discussion at those particular points, so.
Yeah, I know too, when I was on the planning commission, I think when I was first on, they had rotating council members that came. And you get a total different feel from every council member. Some gave lots of information, some gave very little information. You know, so there's probably something to say to have consistency.
Yeah. I'd say maybe we look at doing, what do we think of that, of doing the Watershed as a rotating one, being an outside body?
I
can live with that.
How often
That's a good question.
does the Watershed meet?
And when?
The Watershed meets the second Wednesday of every month at 11:30. It's been virtual for a while, so it's virtual. I can make sure Jessica distributes that, or I do. And then we typically hold a pre-meeting, because the agenda will about come out Friday, late Friday. So typically Monday mornings, we have a pre-meeting with Ken, the commissioner, Ken Gensler, and Tom, and occasionally Councilmember Bodema, depending on the topic. So it's really the second Monday and the second Wednesday of the month is the commitment level beyond reading a virtual packet. And then I could facilitate.
When they're not virtual, where are they held?
It's City of Maple Grove before COVID. It was a conference room at the City of Maple Grove. Maple Grove, sorry.
How long do they typically run?
Usually till 2.5 hours. They could vary 1.5 to 3 hours.
Does that include the TAC meeting?
TAC meeting is variable. We've been starting to go to a 9:30 on the Wednesday before the meeting because there's more happening in the Watershed, and that's just a time that we've unofficially evolved to, so that would be a 9:30 to 2 o'clock commitment on Wednesdays.
As a council liaison, are you there to provide input or just to understand what's going on? What would be expected?
I mean, it's a public meeting, so it's at the discretion of the liaison. I think what I heard from Councilmember Bodema, and what I would advocate for is just learning the process, and if you have questions, work through staff, work through the commission to make changes. So it would be educational for those that haven't been involved, and then provide input, expectations, and work through staff. So I don't want to speak for Councilmember Bodema, but that's what I would foresee as a description of the role of liaison.
Okay, well, do we want to try, at least and see how that rotating thing goes for the Watershed? And then, Jeremy, you expressed interest on parks and trails. Is anyone interested in planning?
I'd
Maybe.
jump back into planning if they'll have me as a liaison.
That works for me.
The Watershed, are you just looking for someone at the 11:30 meeting? Is that what the plan would be?
I think most of the TAC members are staff. So yes, I would say participating if you have questions in the Monday meeting with the Corcoran team, like our Watershed prep meeting. And then if you wanted to go to experience it, or even just attending our prep meeting would be helpful too, to digest what's going on. So there would be some flexibility. If you made one of those meetings, you would still.
What time of day is your prep meeting at?
It's at 10 o'clock on Mondays, the Monday before.
Is that
And
virtual or
It's
is
been
it?
virtual, but depending on the topic, if there's a big topic, it's just meant to address the agenda, get on the same page, collect data, so that we have a decision for the meeting.
Gotcha.
An advocacy position, there's 7 or 8 members, so we're one of 7 votes. So it's more of an advocacy position, and try to, advocate for what we think benefits Corcoran.
Makes sense.
So between the 5 of us, you'd be doing it 2 to 3 times per year? Which I think is,
2 to 3 times is doable. I couldn't commit to these hours in the middle of the workday for.
Right.
That's why I did it for so long, is because I could.
Right.
I guess I think we should vote whether we want to do that and then worry about the specifics.
Vote whether we want to do the
We
rotating?
can just have it be like this. If I'm gonna get outvoted, we might as well just go and vote. I'm gonna put on the table. I would like to, establish this as the commission schedule for 2022.
This being what,
The one we
the
have.
existing one?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Jeremy wanted to go to.
Oh, yeah, and you guys switch.
So I would go to Parks and Dean would go to Planning.
Yeah.
So you as Watershed, Dean as Planning, Jeremy as Parks.
Yeah, I'll just put that on the table, and I will,
Do you want to make a motion for it?
I just made it, yep.
I'll second it.
Did we need a charter commission? We have none listed.
We didn't last year, we decided
One
not
meeting a
to.
year, right?
Yeah.
I can make that.
We decided not to last year.
We've generally not had a commission, or a liaison to that, just as the way that the commission is set up, to take a review and look at what the council's doing, so we just generally haven't. We certainly could if that's something that the,
Typically, if there's a specific item that they're doing, it would be coming to council or,
likely it would be coming to council, or we certainly as staff make council aware of any changes that they be making, and any of the meetings, whether it's Parks and Trails, Planning, and Charter, we do have it in our blanket notice that there could be a quorum at any of those city meetings.
I think 4/5 of us were there.
yeah, I think so.
Yes. So we
Perfect.
do notice it in advance.
So that was one of the questions I had before we do this. We've been to some of these meetings where there's been 3+. That is not an issue for anybody because I was asked twice,
Sure.
once at 2 different meetings that
Yep.
we were out of line for that.
Nope,
I
they're publicly noticed.
I didn't say a
Sure.
word.
For any of our city, or any of our regular city meetings, we notice for the quorum, and then anything that is going to be a special meeting, such as our meeting on the 3rd, to look at finalists, we notice that as well. So,
We weren't out of line at those.
at our city meetings,
Okay.
no, and we do notice things like the Northeast District Design Guidelines, open houses and country days, night to unite, anything where we anticipate you all have been invited, we try to notice, even if there is no official business being discussed.
Right.
We do our very best, but any of our city meetings here, we'll have noticed generally.
Get your thinking face on.
No, I'm just
Okay.
saying, we can all go to
Gotcha.
Corcoran Country Days.
Yep.
As citizens, we can go to any of these events as citizens,
Yeah.
anytime, anywhere. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would say generally, there can be chance meetings. We live in a community. We could all drive up
Yep.
accidentally to Corcoran Crossroads at the same time and just all be there, as long as we're not discussing city business. But as long as we know of events happening, we try to notice those, whether it's discussions about planning items. We had some off-site meetings last year that
Right.
we noticed, just anytime that we know that you all have been invited. So if you do have times where you're invited to things, or the whole council is, certainly let us know so we can notice, do a quorum notice, mostly just to make sure that we've at least stated that we know there could be a quorum.
Okay.
Yeah, like Country Days in particular, just as an example, would be something I don't think we technically would have to notice whatsoever, pretty clearly. And also, if we couldn't talk business there if we wanted to, it would be impossible at a concert. Like
No, I agree.
but-
It's a touchy subject
Yeah,
in the
no.
past, and I don't want to.
You will
Open a
go
can of
to
worms.
when you go to new elected officials conference, they will lay all that out. Because
Yeah.
it's a really important topic.
Yeah. But I think it's a good practice to over notice for things that could,
Try to do.
could meet that, so. Perfect, so we do have a motion and a second. Is there anything else on that, or are we ready for a vote? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I add something at the end of the meeting?
Sure, where,
Before I forget, I have paid for my newly elected, or my elected officials conference. But I am not gonna be able to go,
gotcha.
so if I cancel it, it'll cost me $50.
Uh-huh,
But if I transfer it to somebody else,
gotcha,
it may not cost me $50.
gotcha.
So if someone wants to go in my place,
Did you sign up for the advanced one?
yeah. They're usually good.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. When is it?
It's,
Is it this month?
sorry to sidetrack, guys.
No, it's fine. We're,
February,
That's fine.
it's the February 3rd and 4th. If you look at the League of Minnesota Cities website, they show
Plymouth
that.
this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it, or is it virtual?
Well, it
Right
was
now it's not
live, and
supposed
now
to be,
everything is becoming virtual.
Oh.
I went to it virtually last year.
I think that right now it's planned to be live, but that might change, I'm not sure.
The outstate one, probably, they don't, the outstate one would probably be live, but I don't think they're having one.
Right.
They're little.
So yeah, do we want to add that?
We can add
to-
that as.
Well, I just said it, so let me
Yeah,
know
that's
if you
true.
want to use mine.
Yeah, I wonder when we need to know that by, when you would need to know, or when you could transfer.
Yeah, just let me know in the next week, otherwise I'll just cancel it. It's not a big deal.
Sounds good. Perfect.
Take care of that.
Okay. 10C.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is just a quick housekeeping item. In order to continue moving forward on our water supply planning, we're looking at hosting a work session on January 27th, prior to our council meeting at 5:30. Just asking council to call that or give feedback on that date.
Sounds good.
I would not be able to attend that one.
Okay. Does that work for everyone else?
That's Thursday, the 27th?
Yeah, so it's before council.
Can somebody tell me what that's about?
Well,
Kevin, do you want to?
I'm just wondering if it's necessary.
It's a second site?
It's an update on the second site we looked at for the water tower. An update on that, and I don't know if that we'll be able to have the geotechnical collected, but we'll give you an update on that and some of the projections. We also want to keep the conversation going, so there's some, we're working out the agenda, but there's some conversation about treatment options, chemical treatment options. There's just an update on laying out the plant and some of the processes that we've been working with. Probably a little touch on architecture. So just kind of the decision points you want to keep getting in front of you, get the information out there, because you're probably not going to decide in one meeting. So as we look out and maintain schedule, we want to keep getting new stuff in front of you, so we have, more than likely 2 meetings to talk about it and some time in between to correspond if needed. So it's really just to stay on and keep the design going, or if you guys get a sense that something's not going right, we can redirect efficiently. So there are value things there. It'll probably be a combination of 3 or 4 things, just.
But why is it a special session instead of just a part of the meeting?
this is how we've done it so far.
That's- Well, I know, yeah.
That's the
Sure.
question, like.
Yeah, I mean, usually special sessions, like, they're informative, but not decision-making, at least as I understand them. And this one, this is informative and decision-making. I feel like it's more of something that would take place under the normal guise of council.
Gotcha. Well, are we looking for specific decisions?
I think it's more direction related. I don't think we're expecting you to decide on the tower on the 27th. It would be updating you of the progress. I think typically it's more of an environment, kind of like where you can be a little more collaborative and it's a little more long-winded on one topic. And then typically a decision would then be recommended, like either later that night if we felt like we're in, kind of dialing that in or not. But in this case, it's more just information and direction.
And I'd note that Maggie is working on some information related to financing as well, per the direction of council. So we'll have some information on financing and where we're at based on the financial management plan and looking to make sure that that water tower, those rates were in there and looking at that.
Yeah, because just, if we come every 4 months, there's a lot of people working on this, and if we work for 4 months without some sort of update or direction, we could be going down the wrong hole, and we're trying to just be mindful of that, steady, and not going wrong directions and wasting resources, so. We've been trying to target a 2 or 3 month window with everything going on. We respect that, but it's a complicated, huge process with lots of moving parts. So it's ultimately up to you guys, but we feel at a project team and staff level, there's a ton of value to get some of this stuff out in front of you in a work session type environment.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I would agree with that. I'd love to attend. I will unfortunately, provided I don't catch COVID, be in Disneyland on that day. So I would attend, but
You got a Disneyland excuse, that's nice.
Which character are you?
Dopey.
Don't shoot.
Hopefully, though, you could,
Yeah, congrats.
the materials will be out the.
I'll certainly review the
board,
material.
give Jessica a call and,
Let us know if you have any feedback. We'd love to hear it.
perfect. But does that day and time work for the rest of us?
For me, that's fine.
Yeah, as of now it works.
Okay, and we could probably, for sure, if we had a quorum here, we could have 1 or 2 probably attend virtually because there is no decision-making. I think you're gonna double check into that.
Yep, we're going to look into that.
I still am struggling with why the specificity of coming at 5:30, because usually those go an hour.
You wanna do like 5:40?
No, I'm just saying, usually, like, they go an hour, and then we sit here from 6:30 to 7.
You could bump it
Like,
up.
there's no specialness to this topic. Like, we have presentations sometimes that go for a long time during council. I don't know why we wouldn't just, I'm not saying we don't talk about it. I don't know why it deserves talking about it before council.
I don't remember the last one, how long it went, but the one we were supposed to talk about tower and then design a treatment facility, we never even got to treatment facility. We ran out of time. So you can get winded with our conversation, and then generally the second meeting of the month of the council is planning, has a lot of planning business on it, so that wouldn't be a really good one to have. I'm assuming it's probably gonna be a big packet.
Yes, at this point, we're looking at potentially moving a couple of the items related to planning, but we do have our legislative priorities. We've got the Trail Haven Bridge replacement, our capital improvement plan, talking about bonding options for the year. So we definitely have some topics on there we'll want to get feedback on.
If we stay on task and stuff, can we go from 6 to 6:45 with a 15-minute break?
Yeah, we could move it to 6, and then we could always amend the agenda for a smaller discussion at the meeting if we didn't finish in that time.
Yeah, we could amend the order too, so the presenters can leave early.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll have staff on site, so if we would want to do that, we could look at adding that earlier in the agenda.
Okay. So, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I'd definitely be in favor of that.
Okay, perfect. Then, I just need to call that, don't I?
Yes, if we could
I will
get that.
go ahead and call the work session for 6 o'clock on January 27th, 2022. Okay. 10D, Police Department Staffing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. A few items to update the council on relating to police department staffing. So we did receive a notice of separation from Detective Steve Cole. So one of the items would be that we're looking at would be accepting his resignation and authorization to begin an internal, external hiring process to replace our police detective position. Additionally, we've been running a police officer process for the position that was approved by council on November 22nd. There were 4 applicants, and not knowing how that would go, we weren't sure what we'd be able to bring to you at this council meeting. We're happy to share with you that after interviews yesterday, we have a preferred candidate, and the preferred candidate from staff is actually one of our current part-timers. Because of the fact that that candidate has already been backgrounded and been through our vetting process along with the physical, psychological, et cetera. In that scenario, we are able to ask for authorization for the offer as it sits in front of. If you would have been a different candidate, we would have had to wait for further down that vetting process. So the decision points tonight is really asking the council to accept the resignation, authorize staff to begin the internal, external detective hiring process, and authorize the job offer for Abigail Edstrom, who's our part-time officer that we'd like to bring on full-time for that position. So I know this was a real brief staff report, and I'm happy to talk in detail with any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you. Any questions from Matt?
Was the offer for the officer, was that the officer that was, I just said officer too many times there. Is she the officer that was outside the door?
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Just, if it's not appropriate and such, what is her background, past experience, those kind of things? Is that something you could share?
Sure. So she's from Maple Grove and was a recent graduate from Alexandria Tech. Went to school for law enforcement, it's been her passion for a long time. Academically, involved in gymnastics and,
Yeah.
kind of a fan of the physical activity stuff. She's been a great addition to the team. Definitely helps balance out some of the, the other staff members that we have. So great personality. Really, and she initially applied for the city as a CSO candidate. And during that process, we identified that she would be, based on her qualifications, an excellent police officer candidate. So we encouraged her to apply for part-time police officer, which she applied for and was successful in getting. So she's actually begun the FTO process in our part-time police officer role. And so we've been able to kind of get to know what she would also be like as a candidate and a partner on the team. So she was able to bring some of that experience and knowledge of the community from her perspective as well, to know if this was the right fit as to what she was looking for in her community. So she's really passionate about the community, and this is obviously somewhere that she's really passionate about working because of what we have to offer here. So.
Awesome.
And I had the opportunity when she delivered a packet with one of our other officers to kind of informally interview and ask and say, I encouraged her to apply. So cool, good.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
Good job.
as usual.
Can I make a motion, option number 2, although I don't like to accept resignations, because I don't think we have to, I would still go with option 2 and continue and hire the new police officer.
Second.
So, okay, perfect. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank
Have her
you.
on board.
I think she's listening, so congratulations.
Question, we are still in search of one more?
So with this, we're still, we'll be posting, it'll go live at 8 a.m. tomorrow, the posting for the detective position. We currently have an officer out on leave currently, but otherwise all of our authorized positions are full, other than the feedback from the council of being aware what, keeping our eyes on the market and what's available to us as job applicants. So our police officer posting is up for another month. It's somewhat open-ended just to continue to scout the market, and it has been.
For a possible,
For any-
the one we approved is, say, bring in the 2023 one early if you found one, kind of deal. right?
Depending on what's there, yes.
Do we need to change the information on this then to include a detective level or not?
We certainly could make adjustments
Yeah,
to that,
just-
as well as sergeants. As I was looking at it, as we were talking, that's one area that we also didn't
Okay,
make
I just-
changes to, so I can get all
Yeah,
of
we
that information.
already have to get them the updated one anyway, so.
Okay,
So I'll get
got
that,
it.
Mark.
Good work.
Were you able to find any interested parties at the conference that the department attended?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of people that were interested. As you can imagine, there's not a lot of desire for people to move right now. There's kind of uncertain times in the field and some obvious trepidation where people have a known quantity where they're at, like, love it or hate it. But there was definitely some interest in the community as a whole and what we had to offer. So I think there was some interest. I think we'll probably get a few people that hopefully apply that we encountered there and definitely wanted to know more and showed some interest. But we were also able to have in-depth talks with candidates about what barriers might be, or people that were initially interested and decided it wasn't going to work. So it was very insightful to be able to talk in that type of atmosphere, because typically our hiring processes are very rigid, and it's either posted or not posted, and we don't generally have a captive audience. And for those of you not familiar, we had several officers that were able to attend a conference with 300 police officers, and I think a lot of our officers on our department were able to reach out to other attendees, talk about what we were able to offer as a community and what potential opportunities might be coming up in our community because it's growing. So it was really good feedback, and it was a really good way to kind of judge the market and see what people were looking for.
Were there any barriers that we could try to address?
Yeah, I mean, those are, most of them you're aware of. I mean, the biggest one was compensation, especially among attendees from the metro area. We're significantly below other metro area departments, and then especially as you get into the specialty assignments and things like that. That was the biggest one. There was some concern from some of the outstate individuals about moving to Hennepin County from the things that they've seen regarding the legal system in Hennepin County and political persuasions, and not quite sure how things landed. And, we were able to talk about our community and just how our police department interacts with our community and the trust that we've built over time, and with our elected officials and our community members. I think that was very well received by a lot of the candidates. A lot of them are still look at the metro area, Minneapolis and St. Paul, as representing the 7-county metro area. So there's some that you're not going to be able to convince, but there were some that were definitely interested in learning a little bit more. So I think those were the two main ones, were politics and then compensation.
Okay. We can affect one of those two.
Well, we could secede from Hennepin County.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's always,
You want to make a motion?
it's always my goal.
County of Corcoran.
Make a motion.
County of-
There's some steps involved.
I like that, County of
So does the
Corcoran.
8th County.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. That we're our own, we declare ourselves our own county.
Okay.
All right.
That might take a charter amendment, John.
Yeah, to say the least.
Might just be a work session.
Where are we? 10E, city purchasing card vendor.
Perfect. Thanks, Mayor and Council. Maggie's going to go ahead and take on this one.
Yep, thank you, Mayor and Council. So staff has been looking at vendors for a purchasing cart program that will allow staff to make city business-related purchases. Currently, the city has a Farmers State Bank of Hamel checking account, which gives us debit cards to use for the city purchases. However, this presents a challenge when we are tracking which staff is making the purchase. And when staff is traveling, then they have to take the cart with them, and then other staff can't make purchases then. So staff is recommending that we approve U.S. Bank as the vendor for the purchasing cart program. U.S. Bank has a rebate program and is under Minnesota state contract, as well as it offers online management, which will help track which staff is making the purchase, and as well as, yes, so.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Maggie.
So I assume that this doesn't affect our banking relationship with the Bank of Hamel?
So we only have about $10,000 in that bank account. We try to keep it under 10,000. So it shouldn't affect it. At least not in my perspective, it wouldn't, since our main checking account, we're still paying a majority of our expenditures through that.
Okay.
And that is all Hamel? State Bank, Farmers State Bank of Hamel?
Yep, our main checking account.
Everything is, okay.
Yes, everything else is purchased through our main checking account at the Farmers State Bank of Hamel.
Ellen had a question.
We do.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask, you said we're under contract with, or they have a state contract. What does that entail and what does that get us? And are we required to go through a state contract vendor? Because I'm equating this to my company-issued credit card where I make expenses on directly through American Express, and it's not through a bank. How is this different from a program like that?
Yeah, so this is similar to it is a credit card program, and then it's covered under the terms and agreement that U.S. Bank has with the state of Minnesota. And then we can terminate at any point. There's no penalty for terminating with them. So if we don't like the program, we can just terminate at any time.
So each person would apply individually for a card, or do they just apply through the?
No, so the city will, it will be a city account, and then the city can issue the cards to whichever staff it approves.
Isn't it the department heads, or is that part of the next one? Department heads can select who in their department
So
needs
department
one.
heads, and then department heads can select whichever staff they want under them to have a card.
Gotcha.
So does the bill then go to the city and the city, or does the bill go to the individual and then they file for reimbursement? How does that work?
So the bill will go to city, and then the city will see a breakdown of which staff is making the purchase. Right now, with our checking account at the Farmers State Bank, the city gets the statement already, but we do not see who's making the purchases. So then we're kind of playing a guessing game of who's making the purchases and having tracked down who's making it.
And it would still go to council every meeting
Yes.
for
Yes, it
approval
would
at the beginning, right?
It would still go to council as part of our approval process. I think one of the things that we see with the debit card as well is we'll have to make incremental, this week I had to call to Farmers State Bank to increase the credit limit for a large purchase, or for whether it was for trading this week or not, that there are different things that we're having to increase the limit for. And so this would just streamline the process, give individuals who are authorized that chance to have the cards. And then we'd require receipts in order to make sure that we pay any of the bills that are out there.
Yes, so it will be the same process as what we have right now with the debit card. Essentially, it will just be, we'll have whichever staff member that is approved that will have a card. We can see what they're purchasing, and then they will be more reliable on what's being purchased.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we should be able to hone in better on what we're spending our expenses on,
And who's making it.
and who's making it, because sometimes it does get confusing when you look at the expense report and you've got 10 different vendors and they all say the same thing, supplies for this or supplies for that, and it's like, well, why didn't you just go to the same vendor?
Yes, I think we'll be able to get a little bit more detail as we move forward with it.
Okay. Is there a limit on the amount an individual can purchase on expense without having like department head approval, or?
So we can set a limit. As a overall city, I believe we were aiming at $25,000 for the limit, and then we can just set the limit for each individual as what we think they should have.
Okay.
And we do have in our financial guidelines a limit. Anything over $5,000 generally is something that we'd want city administrator council approval if it's unbudgeted for. So in general, the idea is not to necessarily make more credit card purchases. It's just to allow some flexibility when making different purchases. Ideally, we're still using checks and going through our Hamel State Bank processes. It's just, this allows some flexibility for different things for us.
Okay.
How would the rewards program be used?
Great question.
That I would have to ask the US Bank a bit more, because I don't really understand that part either.
Do we just get statement credits to offset some of the expenses? Or is
Sure.
there?
We could look at.
I believe
At that
so.
option.
Yeah, I
And
believe-
that would probably be our preferred option, is to offset any credits that we do. or
It'd be great
debits
just
that
to
we
get an
have.
update on that. At
Sure.
some point,
Yep.
when we get some clarification.
And operationally, we've also run into issues with the debit card. If you've ever tried to rent hotel rooms on debit cards, some of them won't take it because they'll want to place holds on items and stuff. So we've had, for instance, when I've gone to a conference where they've said, well, no, we're not going to take a city debit card because we only charge credit cards based on holds and items like that. And I think there's also benefits that, when in the past, there've been fraudulent charges, the city's, lost the money until we're able to work through the process with the bank to rectify that those were in fact not our charges. Where I think if it's a credit card, we can refuse payment on an unauthorized charge that might appear on the account until it's resolved. So I think it does reduce our liability, and I think it really would improve operationally, streamline what we're able to do if we're needing to use it in travel and things like that.
Makes sense. Anything else? And you just want direction on this, right?
Yes, I think we'd just like to get authorization to enter into a contract, the standard US Bank contract. We had City Attorney Thames look at it, so we'd be just authorizing that. And we could look at bringing back just an update to a future meeting on consent or under reports about how we would utilize those
Yeah.
rebate funds.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Do that.
I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to authorize staff to proceed with the US Bank contract for the purchasing card program.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Oh, sorry. Sometimes I miss if I didn't hear all the ayes.
Sorry, I don't let it go.
Good, perfect. Alrighty. 10F, City Purchasing Card Policy User Agreement.
Perfect. Thank you. Mayor
Yes.
Council. I'd love to take this one as well.
Sorry. So Mayor and Council, with the approval of the US Bank as the city purchasing card vendor, we would want, staff is recommending that we put a policy in place that holds staff that are approved to have a city card be more liable for what purchases they make. This will promote accountability and then ensure that documentation is maintained and provide a consistent and appropriate process. Staff that are approved for a city card will have to sign off on the user agreement that I have in Exhibit 2, or Exhibit A, Attachment 2. So staff is just recommending adoption of this policy. And this will also replace the use of debit card guideline policy that was adopted in 2013.
Thank you, Maggie. Any questions?
I just had a suggestion, because they're making purchases and it's being paid for through the city.
Sure.
In making purchases, item 3, they're supposed to submit invoices and receipts within a timely manner. I'd suggest you put a time frame on
No,
that.
I was thinking that too. I don't know what.
It's probably dependent
Maybe-
upon your payment cycle, right? Because,
Maybe 15 days or 30 days.
Or maybe each
Or
department
each-
sets
department. We could look
I
at,
just don't want to get to a point where we're saying, well, I haven't gotten to it, and then all of a sudden, you know, we've got a mismatch and what we
Right.
reconcile our things for.
Would 30 days be appropriate?
I mean, I would think 30 days would be long. I mean, it's not like they're waiting for
15
the
days? Okay.
Yeah.
expense report to
15 days.
post.
15 days?
I'd even, I'd go a week. I just,
Well, I mean, but
Otherwise, it
somebody could
just
go on
says-
vacation or
Yeah, I
something,
think
right?
15
So-
days works.
yeah,
It's
15
in
days
the middle
would be
ground.